everybody, welcome to Just Salvos. We're like a month away from Christmas and we're going to be talking about gifts now. Not Christmas gifts for ourselves though. Most of you probably know about this idea, the Just Salvos booklet. Amazing things in here you can buy for people in the developing world, pigs and rabbits and education gear. The Salvation Army at Box Hill did something quite different with Just Gifts last year, and we're going to have a look at what they did now and then come back and talk to the amazing Major Greg Morgan about how we've made changes so that you can be included in the Just Gifts Christmas appeal this year. But let's have a look at the clip first. Pretty interesting little clip there to tell us more, or in fact something about what Box Hill did last year and also what they're doing this year. Major Greg Morgan, thanks for joining us.
Hi, good to be with you.
What initially inspired you guys to get together and do something with Just Gifts last year?
Okay, well, there's a few things sort of for us that was a motivation. I guess, you know, for me personally, it comes from that sense of in Western countries, Christmas is just such a huge commercial sort of idea. We spend all this money on all these gifts, often for family and friends who, to be quite honest, don't really need and sometimes don't want the gifts that we give to them. And so as we were preparing for our times of Christmas worship and Christmas outreach last year, it was just thinking about, well, how can we make a difference, a much bigger difference than just around our own area at Box Hill? So for quite a few years, Box Hill had a tradition that their Christmas Day offering just went to some sort of missionary project, and you know, that'd be about $1,000, and that was a great little project. But we started thinking, well, how can we do more with that? How can we turn this into something bigger? And so we came up with our Christmas water tanks project.
Wow, unreal.
And so you chose water tanks specifically because?
Yeah, look, I was looking at some of the information by a group called Advent Conspiracy, and people can check them out on the internet. And they talked about the fact that really more money is spent on Christmas gifts every year than is actually needed to solve the whole problem of water supply in developing countries in this world. And that if we put the same amount of money just into water wells and making a difference like that we could solve a whole bunch of issues in terms of poverty and drought and starvation right across the developing world. So we picked up on that idea and thought, well, how can we actually give a gift of life this Christmas?
How much did you raise through this?
It blew us away a bit in the end. I think when we started, we looked at the Just Salvos catalogue and it said you could buy a water tank for $600. We thought, okay, what can we do as a core? 5 tanks, 10 tanks. I think I was sort of hoping 10 tanks, $6,000. When it all came down to it, we raised $29,000 through our Christmas
It
gift.
was amazing. It was amazing. And I've got to say, Just Gifts were inspired by the Box Hill Core because we suddenly realised, I love this catalogue and I love the fact that I can buy a toilet for my brother and it's both humorous and also really helpful for the developing world. But one of the things that I really loved about what Box Hill did was this idea of one community really supporting another community to make a real difference, you know, specifically for a need in that community. So it wasn't just me buying one thing for one family in one community. It was actually a whole community of people, you know, solving a problem in a whole other community on the other side of the world. So first of all, thanks for doing that, and thanks for being the inspiration for the Just Gifts Christmas Appeal, which is essentially just your idea spread across the territory. So
and with a slightly different slant this year?
Yeah, well, we're really just going to try and focus on 3 countries or 3 areas. One of them is Alice Springs, actually, which is in Australia. And it's kind of disappointing, actually, that we need to have a Just Gifts project in Australia, a wealthy country that probably should be able to look after its own people. And we're looking at Myanmar or Burma as well, and also Kenya. But one of the things we really wanted to focus on, building on the idea that you guys focused on sanitation, was education. We really feel like education is the key out of poverty for a lot of people, and we want to show you this clip now, and hopefully that explains something of that.
Christmas is the season of giving, a time when we look beyond ourselves and see the needs of others. This year, Just Gifts has created an opportunity for your core to give a gift that will make a real difference to a community in need. We're featuring 3 Salvation Army projects across the world where a simple gift can transform people's lives. The Asian nation of Myanmar has suffered the uncertainty and negative impact of political upheaval and poverty for decades. Formerly known as Burma, Myanmar is considered to have one of the least developed economies in the world and ranks bottom in the World Health Organization's National Healthcare List. Child labour is a massive problem in Myanmar, and for many poor families, the promise of education for their children is simply beyond reach. The Salvation Army operates 10 tuition programs in Myanmar, giving over 300 children the chance to learn. For $10, you can give these kids school desks, $30 can give classroom supplies or a boarding school kit. $600 can buy enough books and supplies for one tuition program for an entire year. These gifts can give these kids the hope of an education. Alice Springs sits at the heart of Australia. Despite being in the centre of a prosperous country, the Indigenous people of Alice Springs live in third world conditions. Indigenous people are 4 times more likely to experience homelessness than that of non-Indigenous, and have a life expectancy over 10 years shorter than the rest of the population. Alice Springs has some of the highest rates of diabetes, heart disease and kidney disease in the world, with poor nutrition being a major contributing factor. The Salvation Army Look and Cook program enables people on low fixed incomes to eat healthy. For $10, you can give an Indigenous family a Look and Cook cookbook. $100 gives the complete Look and Cook kit. A gift of $200 helps run the Look and Cook program and gives the gift of health to this community. The African nation of Kenya has long struggled to get out from under the foot of poverty and social disadvantage. Over 6% of the adult population suffers from HIV/AIDS, and high unemployment rates mean that 50% of the population live below the poverty line. On average, only 88% of children in Kenya reach the 5th grade, and severe shortages of teachers limits access to quality education, especially to children with disabilities. In the city of Thika, the Salvation Army operates 5 schools specifically for children with disabilities. 2 of these schools especially cater for children with visual impairments. This requires specialised equipment and staff to aid in learning. For $5, you can give these schools a ream of specially made Braille paper. $710 can supply the actual Braille machine. A gift of $960 can pay the salary of one teacher for an entire year. These gifts give happiness to kids who would otherwise be left behind. A gift to these communities can spread the hope and love of Christmas to places in desperate need. This year, Just Gifts is encouraging people to not only give individual gifts, but to come together in your family, work or church community and raise money to give much needed support to these projects. Help spread the love and light of God throughout the world with Just Gifts.
Welcome back. Now, Major Greg Morgan, a lot of people struggle sometimes giving money to a big organisation because they feel that maybe their money is just going to get sucked into some giant black hole.
Sure.
Your money obviously didn't. In fact, you guys had a pretty specific target for your money.
Yeah, we did, yeah. And look, we were keen to make a real difference and something that that we as a core could feel a connection with and an ownership of. So actually through the Salvos here at THQ, we linked up with a project for the Salvation Army in Ghana that they had a real need to have some water tanks and some wells at some of their rehabilitation centres and schools, as well as core and quarters right across the Ghana territory. So we linked up with them. So it's a very specific project for us.
So how many water tanks did you end up?
Look, it's still in progress, actually. Yeah. So stuff's still happening, but I think it's going to be around 16 or 17 water tanks spread in different locations right across them. And we heard some pretty sad stories from some of those locations. Of one in particular that I remember was a rehabilitation centre for kids with some real physical difficulties, and they were having to walk kilometres just to get water every day. And so the difference that we can make there is they will have their own water tanks and water supply, which will make a real difference to their lives at this time. Yeah.
The real challenge that we're trying to put forward to people is this idea of educating, particularly children. Do you have any thoughts on that, or just community development generally and the importance of that?
Sure, and look, the girl effect, which Just Salvos is using this year, I think it's just such a challenging idea and concept for us to realise that there are just so many 12-year-old girls in developing countries right across the world that if we can make a difference in their lives, that's really going to make a difference, and that the key is education. Really, it comes down to if we can give opportunities for education so that 12-year-old girls can have a chance to have a better start at life for themselves, that has generational impacts. It has impacts right across the village and community where they are. And so it's not just necessarily about transforming one life, but actually it becomes about transforming a community. And I think that's a really exciting approach for the Salvation Army to be a part of, to be about community development, that we can say, well, actually we're helping this whole community to have a better chance at life, and we can, as neighbours from right across the other side of the world, make a real difference here.
I'm guessing some of the core officers who are watching this may think it would be great if we were at Box Hill. That we can't do that kind of stuff in our community. We don't have $28,000 in our community. How do you think some smaller core officers may be able to get involved in this kind of project?
Yeah, look, I think it doesn't matter where we are or how big our church is or how much money we think we can raise. I think the issue really is getting involved. And the issue for us as people of faith is that we need to really understand that God calls us to be partners in His mission. He wants us to get involved. He wants us to make a difference. So be it a small core, be it a large core, be it just an individual who wants to, through Just Salvos or through the catalogue or through your website, who just wants to get involved. Really, any of us can be a part of this and know that there's at least some small contribution that we can make, which, when it's added in with contributions from others, can really make a big difference.
It's really important that if you are an individual and you're out there and you really want to make a difference, you can visit the Just Gifts Christmas Appeal is definitely not superseding the catalogue. You can definitely use the catalogue still, and we really encourage you to do that. But it's really for you to get, even if you don't have a church, if you've got a group of friends or workmates or so on, and you just say, you know what, this Christmas I really want to make a difference, and let's see how much we can make. And then when you know that, then you can decide where you want that money to go, and even if it's not to Just Salvos, if it's for some other project, we really just encourage you this Christmas, just to really start thinking about the needs of others as well as the joy and the fun of our own Christmas experience.
And it's really about following the example that Jesus gave to us. The whole Christmas story, it's about incarnation. It's about the fact that God loved this world enough to embody himself, to become flesh in the person of Jesus and be intimately involved in our lives. And so for us, it's again that understanding of actually God wants us to be intimately involved in his work of mission in this world. So really it's part of the Christmas story. Christmas is about hope, it's about life. And this is a chance for us to be about hope and about life and about making a very practical, down-to-earth difference, which is what the kingdom of God is about. It's about practical, down-to-earth differences as well as those, eternal sort of implications as well. But we need to be, working on both of these things and making sure we're being true to the call that God places upon our lives.
It's great.
What an amazing note to finish on.
Absolutely. If you've got questions about how this actual process works, please email us, and Chris is going to give you all the details of how to do that.
You can email us, and you can make a difference. That's what inspires me, is that your money just isn't going into some black hole. You can actually get together and make a difference with a really specific project that will change a community. You can, of course, get the information on our website, which is www.justsalvos.com. There's information about the Just Gifts program. There's information about the new slant to Just Gifts, which we've just been talking about for this year. You can also get on our Facebook, of course, facebook.com/Just Salvos. Major Greg Morgan, you have inspired us. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing lots of people get on board this year's educational Just Gifts. We'll catch you next week.